Welcome to this week's health tip. We have a pretty interesting one this week. I'm going to be talking about mercury. So as you know, mercury is not such a great thing to have in your body, especially in your brain. It has a lot of neurodamaging effects, as well. It can damage your kidneys and a lot of other things. And unfortunately, we know that if you're getting fish from a good source, not the farmed fish, but if you're getting good fish, we know that that would be a pretty good source of lean protein and good fats and those kind of things. It's just unfortunately they're starting to get loaded up with mercury. So I came across some recent information which is actually kind of quite interesting, that how we can actually help get mercury through your system. So before I talk about the research that one guy did, just a couple of things about how your intestinal system works. So basically, if you're ingesting food that has mercury in it, if you poop out that food, if you poop out the mercury, then it's not obviously getting into your system. So anything that we can do that can help bind mercury that you're eating and get it bound so that it doesn't get absorbed into your body, that's obviously a great benefit. So one of the most important things that I found in the last little while is just the importance of the probiotic bacteria. On the inside of your intestines. So if you think of this as your intestine here, just think of the lining of your intestines. They're on both all along the lining of your intestines. Think of these bacteria, the good bacteria. They have like little catcher's mitts, and all the kind of the bad stuff that you might be ingesting, they're kind of grabbing it, and then the large majority of the volume of your feces is actually a lot of these bacteria. They're grabbing all the kind of bad stuff that we don't want in our body, and it gets passed out. So number one, the first thing you want to do to help decrease your mercury intake into your body is to make sure that you have a healthy gut lining. So the main thing you'd want to do is try to avoid at all costs taking antibiotics. Because I had come across a study they did a while ago with mice. So they had the mice they gave them some organic mercury, and the mice that had never had an antibiotic, only about 3% got into their system when they did the analysis. But after they gave those mice an antibiotic, 97% of it got into their system. Okay, so number one, if you have taken an antibiotic, make sure you're taking probiotics as much as you can. Obviously, the ones that we have in our office, the innate choice ones, are quite popular with our patients and they like it a lot. And we have a new batch in right now. So if you're not taking probiotics, it's a good idea to get them if you haven't taken that. So that's one thing. But there's a researcher from the Natural Health News. His name is Mike Adams, and he does a lot of different research with spectrometry and these kind of things. And he's actually created a digestion simulator, basically. So he can put in elements in food and things like that and actually simulate the digestion process and kind of see, if I put this in, what comes out the other end, sort of. And what he did is he tested a bunch of superfoods, herbs and supplements and those kind of things to see which ones would help bind mercury and not have it get into the system. So I found the research was kind of interesting when it came up with this, because mercury itself, the element, it's a very sticky kind of element. That's why they're making things out of it, and you kind of see they glob together if you ever see the blobs of it. So it in itself is sticky. So just the fact that if you eat fiber, a good source of fiber during the meal, it'll help take that out. So let's say you're having a tuna, and you're eating tuna, it's probably pretty laden with mercury and stuff. Just make sure you're having a great salad with it. Okay? Natural fiber salad, you might add some psyllium husks or anything else that would have good fiber. An apple, for example, the pectin fiber is good. And he says that maybe have like 50, 60, 70% binding capacity. So anytime you're eating tuna, make sure you're having fiber with it. And that's usually a good rule of thumb anyway. I always try to tell people, one of the things I mention in my nutrition workshop always is just one little simple thing you can do is just have a natural fiber of some sort, meaning a fruit or a vegetable, before every meal or during every meal. So always a little bit of a salad or a fruit before the meal or during the meal. Ideally it would be a vegetable, obviously, so we can decrease the sugars and all that kind of stuff. But if you have a fussy kid and he only likes, grapes or apples, just make sure he eats a little bit of apple before every single meal, and that'll massively increase the amount of fruits, vitamins and minerals and fiber that the person is getting in their diet over the course of the year, if you think about that. Okay, so that one thing, just make sure there's a good fiber source when you're eating the fish or whatever you're eating that might have a lot of mercury in it. Okay, that's one, and that counts for all types of seafoods. They're all pretty loaded with this now. So a good salad or fiber, apple, whatever it is, while you're eating the tuna. But here's the key. this is the big three. So he found three things specifically that bind like way more than just fiber. Like we're up into the 90-95% range. So here's the big three. Ready? First one is strawberries. So that's a cool one, because it's kind of interesting because strawberries, the seeds of the strawberries are on the outside of the strawberry, and there's a very specific kind of fiber that connects those seeds or binds those seeds to the outside of the fruit. It's pretty rare for fruit to have the seeds on the outside, so that's one of the things about strawberries, they're like that. So that specific binding fiber was very, very important for binding the mercury. The second thing that they found, fortunately not quite the best health food would be, was actually peanut butter. Okay, so some of you know my opinion, peanut butter is not really the best kind of food to be eating. It's very sticky in itself, so obviously if you're going to do this, make sure it's an organic, good raw source of peanut butter, not the crappy ones you get in the store. Just because aflatoxins and other things that are present in peanut butter, there's just kind of a bad history on that. But if you want to have whatever, maybe peanut butter dipped vegetables before you're having your tuna, something like that, and that might be a good combination. And then the third one that had the biggest effect, the most binding effect, is actually chlorella. So that was the number one thing that bound the most mercury when people had the meals. So I know Dr. Mercola has a really good open cell or cracked cell organic chlorella, and I've heard that that's actually had some really good impact on even kids that have autism spectrum disorders and things like that, because often those kids are very toxic. And I know a number of children that are just using this have helped kind of detoxify their system. But adding a little bit of this to before your meal or while you're eating it, sprinkle it on a salad or whatever you want to do with it, and that was the number one thing that helped bind mercury to get it out of the system. So that's your health tip for this week. Make sure you're getting your vegetables and your fruits and your fiber when you're eating your fish, and so that way you can still get some good fish sources in there for the fats and the proteins and everything else, but you're also helping your body, and obviously strawberries is a good one too. Take care.